All right, welcome back. Live at Drew's house here. Another edition. Drew Moholland, my wife Sarah Conway. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Great. Big guest today. We have a little bit of a different vantage point here, as you notice, because we're filming this at a different time because we're taking you to New Zealand in a minute. How about that?
Yeah. What time is it in New Zealand? Do you even know?
It is 10:30. I think it's a 14-hour difference, but we won't get into that. No math involved. Scott Brown, former senator here to Massachusetts, the U.S. ambassador to New Zealand, about to join us. How about that?
That's great.
You got questions?
Cool. You're going to do the questions for this one.
Mookie has arrived. You know what? I think that'll be your job there, Sarah. Why don't you control the dogs?
I am going to control the dogs.
For the Scott Brown interview.
Yes.
And I think we'll bring you back at the end because I know he's got a tight schedule. So we'll get right to Ambassador Scott Brown here in just a moment. We'll lock him in, and then we'll bring you in the end, and we'll chat, and we'll round it up. And I don't know, maybe Mookie can come back. It looks like he wants to be on. How about that?
Sounds good.
All right, very cool. Let's bring in Ambassador Scott Brown. All right, welcome back. Live at Drew's house here. My name is Drew Moholland. Very honored to have our first guest here, the U.S. Ambassador to New Zealand, former senator right here in Massachusetts, Scott Brown. Hello, sir.
Hey, good day to everybody. It's nice to obviously be on with you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. What's so in New Zealand? First of all, let me ask on a personal level, how has quarantine life been? I know you guys are kind of moving ahead of the curve here and ahead of the rest of the world in a lot of ways, but how are things been there?
Well, obviously, we adhered to the government of New Zealand's lockdown measures, quarantine in our residences or wherever our so-called bubble was. We did that for, I think 4 weeks, if I'm not mistaken, and 4 to 5 weeks. And it was difficult, obviously, changing gears because I'm very out and about, everywhere traveling because I represent Samoa, the independent state of Samoa, indirectly Cook and Niue, and our interest in Antarctica. So I have one of the largest geographical districts in the world. And then obviously I traveled back and forth to the United States, head over to Australia. So that part of it is obviously wasn't able to take place. But interestingly, we have earthquakes here. We had one yesterday, a pretty good 5.9 shake. And so we have contingency plans ready to go. And this was a chance to implement them to see if they in fact work. And the good news is that they actually worked really, really well, to the point where people are saying, geez, do we have to come back to work? Because this is great. And it was great. I was able to teleconference, telework from home. We had virtual meetings with politicians, with youth and business groups, continue to march. And then we were able to obviously within our bubbles, continue to work out, ride my bike, swim, do other things, following the procedures. And now we are, as you referenced, doing well. We haven't had any new cases per se for a couple of weeks now, no new deaths. We're at level 2, potentially going down to level 1 in 8 to 10 to 12 days. So on the good move. But, a lot of good things happening back in the States as well, and I'm very excited to hear that.
And you already gave me a hard time off the air about my hair there, so that's we're off to a good start. They just opened the barbershops here. It's been a little slower here in the States.
Well, you can actually, I'm sure you have a pair of scissors back home. You could probably just, just a little bit, maybe get the split ends there a little bit.
I feel like my wife's been kind of sneaking up on me a little bit. I'm kind of watching her to make sure she doesn't do that.
Yeah,
but it's interesting. Here in Massachusetts, I don't know how in touch do you stay with what's happening back here as far as the old home.
Now, where are you? Where are you actually right now? Where's your home?
Coming to you from Danvers, Massachusetts. You are in my kitchen as we speak.
Excellent, excellent. Well, certainly my daughter Ayla lives in Weymouth, and she's the morning co-host at Country 102.5, so she's an essential person. And obviously, I reach out to Charlie periodically, through text or phone calls, and I have a lot of dear friends still in Massachusetts who I care deeply about. And I'm following it obviously with great concern. And my other daughter's up in Portsmouth, Ariana. She's a veterinarian, so she's an essential up in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. So they still have been working. A lot of challenges. Obviously, New Hampshire, they're in a lot different situation than Massachusetts. I think New Hampshire has like 4,000 cases, 208 deaths. Mass 93 cases, 64, 173 give or take. So, next state over having some challenges, but the good news is that everything seems to be flattening out and hitting that, that getting rid of that increase and going down to that flatness, which is good. And hey, listen, it's frustrating. I know people are frustrated. They want to go out and do the things that they've always done. Believe me, I absolutely 1,000% get it. But we have to use common sense as well. Do that social distancing. Make sure you wash your hands a little bit extra. You don't feel well, you can't go out. That basic common sense stuff. And this too shall pass.
Yeah, and we'll move on to some other stuff in a second. But is there anything you've learned in New Zealand that maybe the rest of the world could follow?
Well, I've learned that every country is different. I mean, if you look at New Zealand and Australia, island nations, you look at what's happening with Taiwan, and gosh, you look at even in the United States, you have some great stories like what's happening in Hawaii. So there are pockets in various parts of the world that are obviously, dealing with it a little bit differently and a little bit better and or worse in some cases, but there's so many different factors you really can't compare them. But we've been adhering. I have about 181 employees here, and not only 2 embassies but a consulate in Auckland, and we're following the rules just like everybody else and doing our very best to work with the government and in respecting the New Zealand autonomy and guidelines on this. But I've learned a little bit more patience, that I can't be like go like I've always been. You know me from my days in the Senate. I mean, I would just go. And so I've had to kind of chillax a little bit and, just step back. But I played a lot of guitar, which is good. I've learned a ton of new songs, and the band is back. We jammed for 3 hours last night. So it's been good in that respect.
I saw that. And you've been playing quite a bit. And you had a little celebrity appearance there too, didn't you? You had tell me a little bit about that.
Well, we had, as you know, and you can imagine, a lot of businesses like ours, and even in the State Department, we get some great speakers on the Zoom like we're doing here and Facebook Live and other multimedia forums. And we were getting some great speakers, but I wanted to do a little different. I know Gene Simmons and all the guys from KISS, Warrant, Firehouse, James Montgomery. I mean, all those legends, quite frankly. And I reached out to Gene and said, hey, Gene, would you do a Facebook Live with us? And he was like, well, yeah, of course. And I think we're doing Dee Snider from Twisted Sister coming up in a week or two. But people really, really dug it. And you can go to our New Zealand U.S. Embassy website and get the link and still watch it. We had, over 150,000 people viewing it, interactive. And Gene was really wonderful and very, very thoughtful. And really everybody appreciated his message of basically just love, and just, kind of relax and tell people you love them. So that's good.
What a cool story. Again, Scott Brown, the U.S. Ambassador to New Zealand, joining us. We have a lot of local musicians on this show, which is, as you know, a very hard-hit group right now.
Oh, yeah.
No restaurants, no bars. It's tough. And in a lot of ways, they're kind of being the entertainment outlet, too, doing a lot of streaming. And I've been joking. I mean, I have a stream to watch pretty much every night with somebody I know in the business, which is how I spend a lot of my nights. Let's stick with the music theme for a second. One, pretty cool just to be able to reach out to Gene Simmons and have him say, yep, I'll swing by. And two, on James Montgomery, I had him on an interview a few months ago. How big was he back on the Boston scene back in the day? Because he was huge back then. Yeah,
of course. Listen, I remember being in college and going, I think I wasn't too inebriated, but I remember going to see James and his guys, and he's been great. And he's taken my daughter Ayla under his wing. He was one of the first guys after American Idol that reached out and said, hey, can we play together? And obviously he does the bluesy stuff, and they went down and I think they cut an album together. And I personally have performed with James probably 10 times, and Ayla's performed at least 20 times. The most recent one was back, it seems like 100 years ago, back in January at the Kowloon. And we packed it for a fundraiser, obviously for Sib Hashian, a charity event. And that was fantastic. And I got to play for an hour, and not only do my songs, I sang and played, but I was obviously doing rhythm and a little bit of lead with James and his team. It's so incredible for someone like me who's, I've only been playing for 6 years. After I lost the Senate run, I learned how to play. I mean, I played twice with Warrant, twice with Firehouse, 5 times with Cheap Trick. The last time being in Sydney at the in Enmore Theatre in Newtown, I played 6 songs, the whole finale. got to sing, pushing Rick out of the way. We have a very, really incredible relationship. And believe me, I love music. I love all musicians. I mean, Boston, Massachusetts, especially between, the Cars in Boston and Donna Summer. I mean, the Stompers, the Fools. I have a Fools display. I don't know if you are aware of this, but in my residence, I have over 40 American rock and roll displays. I have the original drum kit from Kiss that got off the world tour like 4 years ago, an original Grammy from Blood, Sweat, and Tears, a beautiful Fools display, Mike Gerard and his guys over the bar, Cheap Trick, Joan Jett, the Eagles, Dropkick Murphy, you name it, we got it. And it's very unique. It puts the Hard Rock Cafe to shame. So I'll stop in a second, but with regard to the artist, I mean, Ayla's in a similar situation. Obviously, she's performed. She lost, tremendous amount of money, but she's been doing a lot of the Facebook Live events, and believe it or not, people have been very, very generous in donating to helping some of those artists. So I would encourage them to continue those links. Gosh, let me know what those links are. I'm happy to put them on my Facebook and tune in and. That's how people are kind of getting by right now. And it's frustrating, but once again, just hang in there, guys.
Yeah. I am hearing a lot of that as tough as it is. I mean, the people are donating and the people are appreciating those efforts. It's not easy to play in a living room and give it your all for an hour and a half with nothing coming back at you. Right.
Yeah. Well, listen, when I do my Facebook Live with my band, we were talking about it last night. I'm going to send you the link. It should be pretty good. We're actually, it's a lot of fun. We've played it, probably 7 or 8 times out in venues around New Zealand, and people seem to really enjoy it. So we'll see,
Beautiful. I had one artist. You like this story. I don't know if you're familiar with Ryan Montsblue came on the show. He was quarantining up in Burlington, Vermont. It was funny. He said Bernie Sanders had just walked by the day before. That's what he's seeing out his window. And so he's playing, and he said he's there with his girlfriend and his the girlfriend's daughter. That's who they're quarantining.
Bernie's there with his girlfriend?
No. Don't start trouble.
No, I'm kidding. That was a joke. Come on.
But Ryan's there with his the 3 of them, and he said I actually had to tell them to stop clapping because it reminded me of the sad bars back in the day when 2 people would clap. And it was kind of an odd feeling.
Oh man, I know. But just to add on the music theme, I mean, there's not a day that goes by that I don't pick up the guitar and at least work on, my chords or, going up and down the fretboard and just trying to learn. And I have such an incredible appreciation for musicians that can, for example, when I played at the Kowloon, I hadn't played with James and, David Hull and, other musicians, and I said, "Oh, these are the 4 songs I want to sing." They brought them up on the radio, and they listened to them, and they go, "Okay, let's go." And it was like I've been playing with them for 30 years, and I find that incredibly gratifying. To the point now where I'm almost there. You give me a song, and I can figure it out in 20 minutes. So keep going, guys. I love it.
Absolutely. You guys must have a lot of time to hang out and talk stories backstage too, because I know for a fact James has all sorts of them, and all these guys must have stories for days, man.
Yeah, well, James is one of the most philanthropic, loving men that I've ever met. He does an incredible amount of work for our veterans, and he's a dear friend. We speak probably once or twice a month since I've been here. That's how close we are. So, good. I mean, there's so many incredible legends. I mean, you got Jay Giles. I mean, I can go on forever about the Boston music scene. It's incredible.
They know about it over there in New Zealand?
Yeah, of course. I mean, American music is one of the bigger things we've exported around the world. I mean, gosh, you look at Elvis, Frank Sinatra, just those early legends, Jerry Lee Lewis, God, you name it. They're all around, and it's still happening to this date. We've had some incredible artists, not from the United States, but I just saw before we had the shutdown and before he had this pneumonia, Elton John and Napier, saw Queen, one of the last big concerts. It was incredible. Like I said, there's so many great shows. Saw Glenn Hughes from Deep Purple twice. Alice Cooper with Ace Frehley, got to hang with both of them, get up on stage with Alice and hang out with, it's just, saw Chris Christopherson, who was one of the last shows that he played here. So the music scene is actually wonderful.
No kidding. Well, it seems like we could go music all day. I want to get to a couple other topics here.
All right.
I know. It's always disappointing when you go away from that topic. You're winding down the term here. What's that feeling like?
Listen, it's been 3 years, hard to believe. And I still have another, I think, 7 or 8 months. I'm not really counting, but it's been one of the most rewarding experiences of my life. The ability that we've been able to help create jobs in the United States with Kiwis through the Kiwi Act and other businesses. For example, Rocket Lab, which is a U.S. company started by a Kiwi, they're actually building a new platform in Virginia. The Kiwi Act has enabled businesses to invest and grow and hire in the United States and vice versa. So the things I've learned geopolitically about the Indo-Pacific and, the relationship that we have with China and all the Pacific Islands and all the, East ASEAN, the ASEAN neighbors and how it affects New Zealand and Australia and our worldwide relationship. I mean, I couldn't learn that anywhere else except for being here with these amazing co-workers that I have here and other diplomats from around the world. I think we have 53 embassies in New Zealand, if I'm not mistaken, and I've gotten certainly to know every single one of them, and I've learned a lot.
So it's been a great experience. What are you going to miss most about it, you think?
Well, obviously, you're in a wonderful country, fiercely independent people. They remind me a lot of the folks from New Hampshire, quite frankly, that kind of, just kind of pick up your bootstraps and kind of drive on and, don't take any gruff or grief from anybody. And I'll miss the people, certainly. Sports is pretty good here. As you know, they have the All Blacks. I've enjoyed learning about rugby. You have America's Cup coming up. We let them borrow the cup last time, so we're going to make sure we get it back. And so a lot of good sports, a lot of good hiking and terrain and sightseeing things are just incredible. But I think I'll miss the work most, the ability to come into work and represent our country in this part of the world. It's been really one of the most uplifting things I've ever done in my life.
The sports back home here, a little bit strange right now. We had our Bruins and Celtics both having good winter seasons. Opening day doesn't happen for the Red Sox. It's a very strange time here in Boston with no sports. I don't even know if you can picture it without. I don't know. It's crazy.
I know. I'm a season ticket holder for the Patriots. Certainly know a lot of the Celtics and the Celtics ownership, and I follow them through the apps. Certainly NFL app and NBA apps. And yeah, it's frustrating, but I tell people, yes, I get it. I know you want to go to the beaches. I know you want to do all these things, but you have to just kind of use your brain, use your common sense and just recognize that this is very serious. There's obviously the flu. This is worse than the flu. We know it. Can't say we can't live with it and, learn how to adjust and adapt. But it's going to take a little bit of a little patience to get through all this, as we've done here, as everyone's doing throughout the country. I mean, we know how it started. That's great. I'm glad there's an investigation going to be done. All the countries agree, including China. That's great. Learn how it happened, how it's going to be fixed, and make sure it doesn't happen again. I'm fully supportive of that. But yeah, I'm anxious to obviously make sure my kids and my family and all my friends and all the citizens of New England are safe and moving forward. I'm anxious for our economy to get moving again. I think it's critical, and that it'll happen. I'm confident.
Again, we're joined here by Scott Brown, U.S. Ambassador to New Zealand, kind enough to join us and take some time out of his busy schedule there. I want to take you back a decade here. You were a very popular senator here, and it's funny, people still to this day from outside states have this kind of vision of Massachusetts as, Democrat, and it's really, there have been certainly all sorts of stories where that has not fit the mold, you included, and of course you won here in 2010. I'm wondering, when you were elected senator, was there a moment, I mean, I'm sure you knew you could win it from the beginning. You wouldn't have entered if you didn't think you could win it, but was there a moment where you said, wow, okay, I did this?
Well, it was truly a team effort. As you know, we're down 41 points when I first started. I ended up winning, I think, by 7. And it was a very competitive race. Martha was a real seasoned veteran. She had the machine behind her, including the president. And we were able to really shock the world and stop that Obama agenda and kind of do things a little differently. And I think people back then, they wanted kind of a check and balance because we had all of our Congress men and women were Democrats, including the governorship. So, listen, it was wonderful to participate in it. It was certainly an historic time. I was blessed and honored to serve the people of Massachusetts. But politics, there's ups and downs in politics. You win and you lose. I happen not to win. But that's okay, because guess what? I'm here in New Zealand as the ambassador to New Zealand and Samoa, and really doing, I think, a job that is equally as important, if not more, in this day and age. And I wouldn't change a thing. And I'm very, very thankful to the people of Massachusetts. And I will never, ever, ever forget them. I have so many incredible stories about things that never have happened and probably never will again. And I love Massachusetts, and people know that.
It's a tough when you're going through a global pandemic that you really don't plan for. I mean, maybe a little bit here and there, but never.
This came out of left field. I mean, listen, let's be real. Yeah. I mean, we're all marching along, everything's going great, and it came out of left field. And we all know where it started and why. And now we got to figure out how to make sure it doesn't happen again. So yeah, out of left field, no one can plan for this.
What do you put yourself in, because I know New Zealand, like you said, every place is different. Big city like Boston, Massachusetts, a lot of people together. As you can imagine, there's a lot of restaurant owners not happy right now that they're seeing their livelihoods, things they built for decades, since they were young, clinging to these businesses. You can imagine it's kind of a tough environment to, govern in and be a legislator. And what are your thoughts on, what would be your advice to any leader through this pandemic?
Well, the beauty of what's happening is the governors and the legislatures have been elected by the people to represent their interests. And the beauty of our political system is if you're not happy when the elections come up, you can ultimately change those leaders. That being said, this came out of left field, and there's no blueprint. There's no book you look up and say, oh, this is how we deal with it. It really is different in every part of our country and every part of the world. So it's hard for me to give them advice except, work together and know that this too shall pass. And if we work together, we're going to come out leaner and meaner and stronger. I mean, I believe that we live in the greatest country in the world, in the United States. And I respect, obviously, New Zealand and other parts of the world, but I'm anxious and hopeful that people will work together to find that balance to bring our economy back and bring our love and care for each other back. And I see a lot of very, very positive signs. I see some troubling things too, but I get it. People are frustrated. I don't know what I would do if I were there. I just know that I speak regularly with the kids, and I reassure them that mom and dad love them, and we miss them, and we trust their judgment. And I would hope that everyone would kind of work together and respect everyone else to make sure that they stay safe and sound. And if, by the way, if you're finding someone is having those problems, help them when they open up. Go and visit them. That's what I'm doing here in New Zealand, our favorite pubs and restaurants and bars. And the first thing I did is I went to our favorite restaurant and said, I'm back. So when these restaurants open up, people got to go and support them. And that's very, very important.
You said you're back. Did you jump on the open mic acoustic guitar? Or? Again, Ambassador Scott Brown, we usually end the show with a little rapid fire. Are you game for this? You got to say the first thing that comes to your mind.
I'll do my best.
Then
I had a late night playing with the band last night, so go ahead, fire away.
I have no real way to hold the U.S. ambassador to New Zealand to anything.
Let me just get a drink real quick. Hold on.
Oh, sure.
Absolutely. Water here. Okay.
Look, I'll do the same. I guess I got my New York City coffee mug today.
Yeah, well, you're in Massachusetts. What about a nice Red Sox cup or something? Jeez.
It's been a touchy topic because my wife decluttered, and my huge collection of coffee mugs is no longer a huge collection of coffee mugs. So,
well, I'll have to get you a Scott Brown mug when I.
There you go. Be happy. All right, here's a little rapid fire.
Fire away.
Best concert you ever been to?
Me playing in Sydney, Cheap Trick.
Well, okay. I guess that's an easy one. Favorite musician?
I would say Rick Nielsen.
Rick Nielsen. All right. Favorite concert venue? What's the best place you ever seen a show?
Oh, gosh. The best place is probably here in Wellington at the Westpac Outdoor Stadium with Queen, just packed. Light show, incredible, perfect night. That's probably one of the best ones. The other one would be the Kiss down in Mansfield. Just incredible show that they do.
Yes, I noticed you didn't even try the name because it changes every like 2 or 3 years.
Is it still a Tweeter Center? What is it?
No, it's. I think we're on to maybe Xfinity now, or
Xfinity?
I still call it the old Great Woods if that works for me.
Wow, you're dating yourself.
It's kind of before me too, but it just sounds cooler than everything else. Favorite movie?
I've seen Gladiator probably like 3,000 times. I just and then Braveheart, probably the two ones I see and love.
Gladiator has been one of mine as well. Favorite actor or actress?
Listen, I love J-Lo. It's no secret, musician, actress, leader, entrepreneur, etc. I'd say for the women, and for the men, I would probably, there's quite a few. God, I love Anthony Hopkins, obviously Mel Gibson, based on what he's done in those other two movies. I'd probably say those are probably some of the top 2 or 3 right now.
All right. What has been the quarantine passing of time hobby? Not counting guitar. That can't count.
Listen, like everyone else, watching House of Cards and every other Netflix show right now. And so Netflix addict probably is the best answer for that.
What is it like being you watching House of Cards? Is there some things where you just say, well, that's not how that happens?
Well, when it first started, actually, John Thune, Kevin McCarthy, and I met with Kevin Spacey to discuss what was going on. So
is that right?
I held off. Yeah, I had held off watching it. We had dinner a couple of nights, and when he was first starting, and just saying, "Oh, well, what about this? What about that?" So it's very interesting to see a lot of the parallels. I find a lot of the kind of wheeling and dealing and backroom kind of backstabbing and stuff a little bit too real. Based on what I experienced there, but I do recognize it's entertainment, but it's still fun to watch. I think I've seen every movie ever made. Like, I am a movie buff, like, big time.
Really? All right. Is that the? How many movies have you watched in quarantine?
Oh God, how many series of shows? I literally, it's got to be 200, easy.
Wow. Good. Well, good job. What's the toughest part of your job? Is it? And I'm just kind of talking pre-pandemic. Being ambassador, what's the toughest part?
Listen, I'm not just the ambassador. I'm the ambassador from the United States of America, and we represent the United States and around the world. That means something. So always, making sure that we lead. We do things first. We do them well. We do them as best as we possibly can. Make mistakes, admit them, move forward, which I will and always have done and will continue to do, and continue to learn and grow. Probably the biggest part is coming from being a political appointee and actually working in a State Department that has 95% career diplomats and career employees, that this is their job. And the thing I needed to just kind of understand is that there are certain rules and regulations that the State Department has that a traditional political appointee or someone like me is like, yeah, we're going to do it. Find a way to get to yes. Find it. So it's been a great metamorphosis with our team to learn how to balance each other out. My aggressiveness versus someone saying, whoa, hold on, and then kind of still getting the mission done. It's been a great learning experience. And I will say, and I've said this before, I have a tremendous amount of respect for our State Department employees and what they do. They move their families and their dogs and cats and pets and everything every 3 years, and some go to places where, they can't even go with their parents for a good year hardship tour. That is incredible what they have to go through. I have a tremendous amount of respect. So I've learned a lot. I could probably write another book and it wouldn't be enough.
Is that in the cards?
No comment.
Last question. What is I know there's got to be a part of you that I know if I went away for as long as you have, I would be itching to get back to New England. It's I know you love it there, but what is the first thing you're going to do when you get back?
That's usually pretty easy. I usually, I'll go to Kelly's Roast Beef, going back from the airport, and then I'll hit the Kowloon and grab some Chinese takeout, and then I'll go up and keep going, maybe Ipswich and grab some clams, and then I'll go to Petey's in Rye, and then I'll go down to probably Portsmouth or go down to Faneuil Hall down by the new seaport in Boston, and just kind of eat and drink lobster rolls like going out of style. I mean, a lot of it has to do with food and drink.
I'm right along the Route 1 corridor, so you can stop by here and
Nice. Yeah, on the way to the Topsfield Fair. On the way to the Topsfield Fair. That's a deal.
There you go. Absolutely. Ambassador Brown, I appreciate the time so much. I know you're a busy man, and this was a pleasure talking with you.
Well, certainly anyone who wants to follow what we're doing, they can go at the U.S. Embassy in New Zealand website, and they can follow me at SEN, Scott Brown, and that's my personal site, and, learn a lot about what we're doing. And, best to Ayla and Ariana back home and all my friends, and thanks to you and your family, and I hope everyone is safe, and we'll get through this. See you soon.
Absolutely. Stay safe yourself, and we look forward to having you back in New England here sooner rather than later.
Thank you. Cheers.
All right.